Welcome back to another episode of Fire Education. In today's video, I'm going to talk about some of the key reasons that fires can start in a home and what you can do to prevent them happening. The first way is through inappropriate candle usage. Candles are commonly used and that's absolutely fine, but you need to make sure that they're used in materials that aren't flammable. So we want a ceramic holder for that candle. We also want to make sure that they are placed appropriately distanced from curtains. This is a really common one that we go to, candles which are placed too close to curtains. And often, obviously, the fire jumps over to the curtain and the fire spreads. You want to make sure that the candles are placed far enough away from your curtains so that any unexpected breeze that enters your home that might lift up that curtain and actually brush over the candle, you want to make sure that distance is appropriate so they're safely away from any flammable object. Another thing to consider with candles is that children are never left alone unattended with candles. If you want to learn more about how you can keep your children safe from fire and how you can educate them about fire safety, we have a video specific to that in one of our playlists. Heaters are commonly used in homes all around the world, and they're fantastic for keeping us warm and maybe even helping dry our clothes inside our homes. But we have to make sure that if we have a heater that's located in a wall, we don't want anything flammable to be around it. We want 1 meter of clearance from that heater around the wall, because obviously if anything's closer than that, it can heat up and eventually catch fire. We also want to make sure that if we're using heaters like this, that we turn them off before we go to sleep at night. If, however, you're using a bar heater that's portable and you're also using a clothes horse to dry clothes on, in this case we want that bar heater to be 2 meters away from the clothes horse. Imagine if a t-shirt falls off of that and floats down onto the ground, we need that extra distance to ensure that it doesn't land on the bar heater. I've been to fires before where people have left their home, but they've left their heaters on. In one example, some cats were inside a house and they just knocked a cushion off of a couch that landed onto a bar heater, and obviously a fire started and the situation wasn't great that we responded to. So if you're leaving your home, make sure that you turn your heaters off and that anything flammable around those heaters is either 1 to 2 meters away, depending on whether it's in a wall or a bar heater. Using a range of electrical items in our homes is a common thing that most of us would do, especially charging things. You have to be aware that when you're charging up an electrical device, that it's going to get hot. And if you ever feel like one of these devices is getting unusually hot, or that charging cord is getting unusually hot, or there's any damage in that charging cord, you need to get rid of it immediately. Any sort of unusually hot object is a red flag that something is wrong. So I would recommend taking it to the appropriate professional to look at to see what exactly is going on. But if you've got any doubt, get it looked at or get it in the bin and get a new one. Consider where you're actually charging these devices. For example, if I'm charging my phone, I'm never going to put it on a flammable surface. So I'm not going to charge my phone at night in my bed sheets with me. Clearly that's a recipe for disaster. Like I said, these devices get hot when they're charging, and if it's on a flammable material, there's a high chance that that could heat up and catch fire. So always charge your electrical devices on non-flammable surfaces. When you purchase electrical items, it's always worth buying things that meet the appropriate standards of wherever you live. I've already said that here in Australia, we have Australian standards that need to be met. So if you're going to buy anything electrical, you want to make sure that you spend a little bit extra to get a high quality, safe piece of equipment, and that you always use it following the manufacturer's instructions. That includes charging and storage and everything associated with that bit of kit. And any damage that you see, you must take it back and report it straight away, because it's not worth the risk of trying to fix yourself. The amount of fires that we actually go to where people have tried to perform dodgy repair jobs on electrical devices is quite extraordinary. So it's not worth the risk. Always see a professional. Electric blankets are another bit of electrical equipment that can cause us some problems. Often we store them inappropriately in the summer months, and when winter comes along we get them out and we use them straight away. But there are a few things that you need to do before you use your electric blanket coming in to the winter months. The first thing to do is to lay it out flat and actually plug it in. What we're looking for is any damaged wires or any unusual hot spots over that blanket. If you feel anything like that, you need to dispose of it straight away and buy a new one. When we talk about safe use of an electric blanket, of course, you can turn it on to warm up your bed before you actually get in there for the night. But when you do go to bed, ensure that you turn it off, or if you're leaving the house, make sure you turn it off. You never want to leave things charging when you're not at home. cooking fires are another reason we attend house fires. There are a few things that you can do to avoid these situations. One is never leave your cooking unattended. And secondly, make sure that you have a fire blanket in your home that is safely accessible in the event of a fire on your stove. That means not storing it under your stove, but storing it away from there that you can access to try and actually put that fire out if you feel safe to do so. We've got more detailed information on how to combat cooking fires on another video on the channel, which you can check out now. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there are many reasons that house fires can start from a whole range of different situations. But one of the other most common reasons is from smoking. People who are smoking in bed and fall asleep, or people who are smoking on their furniture and they fall asleep, they drop their cigarette onto that flammable item, whether it's a couch or a bed, and it eventually heats up and catches fire. Our advice is that you never smoke on a bed or on a couch. You want to make sure that you're doing it in a safe spot where there's nothing flammable around you, and that you dispose of your butts appropriately into non-flammable ashtrays or containers. Another reason that electrical fires can start are from overloaded power points. For example, some people have one power board from one power socket, then they have another power board on that power board that's already been used, and then another power board with many different appliances coming off all of those power boards. This is a recipe for disaster. Remember that one power socket is only limited to so much electricity that it can distribute. So I recommend that only one power board comes from one power socket. In recent years, we've seen an increase in the popularity of electric scooters and electric bikes, which is fantastic. But again, if you're going to buy one of these things, please buy them from a reputable brand that meets the appropriate standards of where you live. Please do not try and modify your own equipment with bolt-on packs that come from other areas around the world. You need to be very careful when doing this, because a lot of the fires that we go to come from people who have done just that. So remember to always buy from reputable brands that meet the appropriate standards of where you live. Thanks for watching the video today. I don't mean to scare you with the amount of potential risks that exist in your home, but it's important to understand that they do exist and that you know how to manage them to avoid fires happening in your home. Remember that working smoke alarms are your best option for prevention and early warning in your house, and that you should also have a home fire escape plan developed so that you and your family know what to do in the event of a fire. Again, for more information on both of those, we have detailed videos on the channel.